I'm not sure. We went this weekend. Like no, right. I do like
Order? Oh, Liberty.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, roll call. Haley? Here. Tony?
Here.
Brian?
Here.
Debbie? Here. David?
Here.
Michael?
Here.
Aubrey? Here. Agenda adjustments?
I have one agenda adjustment under proclamations and presentations. I would like to have Mr. Nick Stahl from the high school do a brief presentation for us on esports, because I was here last week and I think it's an exciting new program that he's put together here. So we could just do a little demonstration.
And you wanted that before committee acknowledgements?
That would be great.
Okay, perfect. Any other agenda adjustments?
I do.
Yeah.
Adjust item 11 to read executive session for personnel matter. And then add item 13 to read adjournment. Basically sticking executive session in there.
Okay. Any other agenda adjustments?
I have one. To make a new nomination for the NSBA delegate.
Okay.
There was not an alternate for that, and I did not have the time available commitment, and perhaps there are people that don't have employment that could participate during that process.
Okay. Any other agenda adjustments? I make a motion to approve those agenda adjustments.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries. Next up, I make a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of September 9th.
So moved.
Was that second?
Yes. Oh, second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries. Next up, I'd like to welcome Mr. Stahl.
Thank you to the board and for members of the community for sharing a couple of minutes of time with me. I'll try to make sure this is brief. I'm sure you've got plenty of business to handle tonight. But I was asked to tell you guys a little bit about the new Hermon High School esports program, a little bit where it came from and where it's going. So why this thing exists in the first place, I had been over the last few years sort of like the teacher that wouldn't say no, and I had accumulated a fair number of after-school clubs. But starting with our remote and our hybrid years, I was seeing a lot of those after-school clubs struggle to maintain membership. They had one or two passionate kids trying to keep it alive, and they just couldn't get anybody else involved. And during one of our post-year action plan meetings, Mr. Walsh kind of casually mentions that the clubs that seemed to still be doing well were goal-oriented. So the sports obviously had competitions. The theater programs had their performances, even things like Key Club and NHA, they had like their NHS, they had their goal at the end of the program for the work for. All of the clubs that were just sort of kids sharing an interest with other people that had that interest after school, they were drying up. So the question was asked, what if our game club, you can see a couple of photos of kids just hanging out in my science classroom in the olden days, sharing their interest in games and tabletop and video games. And we said, what if that became an esports team, something with a goal in mind? And it worked. It's been fantastic. We had a huge engagement. Last year was kind of an experiment. We had no official budget. We were just going to see what we could accomplish with what we could beg, borrow, and steal. We had close to 50 students signed up last year. And one of the big takeaways from that was we weren't poaching kids from soccer or football or any of that sort of stuff. These were kids that were otherwise sort of underserved population. They were not having a lot of engagement here at school. They didn't have like a club or an organization that they were willing to come here for. And esports kind of became that thing. So we have similar numbers this year. We've got just shy of 50 kids signed up right now, and then we will have the winter and the spring seasons as well. We'll probably add a little bit to that. Another part of the reason why is when I started doing some early homework, okay, what about an esports team? What is that for? What does it do? I reached out to our local schools, Husson and UMaine. They both said the same thing. They had about a dozen scholarships available for esports, and they were getting 2 or 3 applicants for those scholarships. A lot of them were literally going unclaimed. So started looking more, and we see, these are just a few examples. The list goes on and on. We got Thomas College giving 2 to 10 grand. We had a student last year was offered one of those scholarships. Leo Ferrighetti got an offer from Thomas College. This goes up to full rides at other schools. And you can see 15 million, over 300 schools offering esports scholarships. And that's from 2021. This is growing quite a bit since then. This is the newest I could have. This was actually sort of a joke when we started Game Club and esports. My kids would kind of joke with each other. I'm going Division I for Rocket League. And that has actually become a reality. You can see there's a list of over 30 Division I schools that started esports programs this year. So if you're going to Ohio State, you want an athletic scholarship, you might be doing it for Mario Kart. As crazy as that might sound. The other half of this is careers. This, I think, is a huge blind spot, not just for our kids, but also their parents. Look at, your kid wants to get into the movie industry. My kid wants to get into music production. Maybe not like a star in a movie, but they want to be part of the crew. That's sort of considered a real career path. Video games, on the other hand, gets sort of overlooked. The video game industry, however, is bigger than the film industry and the music industry combined. You can see there, this is also out of date. This is from 2021. The video game industry just crossed the 200 billion mark. So they're getting close to having more job opportunities, more career paths than movies, books, and music together. So this is a very real career path that I think a lot of kids are not considering. Maybe they should. So with that idea, we want to take advantage of those scholarships. We want to take advantage of those career opportunities. What have we been doing? Well, over the last 18 months, with a lot of help, we've been transforming the fishbowl here into an esports lab. And I've got a photo here, but based on how perfect the setting is for this meeting, if you guys don't mind stretching your legs for a couple of minutes, I'd really like to show you what we've done right here in room 163. If that's okay with you? All right, yeah, so follow me. I'll show you our current esports lab.
I think you've got more coming in. Well, let them fly. How are you? That was really so we were black on the grass, so we turned that in. Yeah, good thing, but we're short on space.
Just 2 minutes or so.
I think we're good.
Did you want one? Thank, I'm all set, thank you. Come to see you. Oh, Jesus, too. Yes. So that's why I'm here. That's to support her. Fantastic. Not even a Hermon resident, so like, I got your release. Come for her. Really?
Yeah, your kids go to school here, and it's about what's happening.
Yeah. I wouldn't even say she probably be.
Because it's hard when representatives, they go to things that
I did notice that last time, yeah.
she has been fantastic, her contributions.
Good. She really likes to be involved with all the things, and it's hard because we live almost in Pedusky, and so she doesn't drive yet, so it's me getting her where she needs to go along with the others, so it's a lot, but sign up for something else. I'm proud of you, please, take a break.
My name's Amy Taylor. I had her for science.
Yes,
Probably for biology.
I think I remember that, yeah.
But now in student council, she's doing fantastic.
Good, good.
I've never played. She's been a lot of
We
fun.
have one
Yep.
of the.
Which she enjoys the coast, so it's good for him.
I haven't been able to find a working one yet.
Mine's working. No, you can't have it.
So let me ask you this: do you have a copy of Yar's Revenge?
No, I don't.
There's a weird game I played as a kid, and for years I had convinced myself that I imagined it. And then I saw it at a thrift store. It was real.
I'm still as good as I ever was.
Better than your cousins. That's the important part. All right, so there's the esports lab. We have two different leagues that we compete in. The first is Play Versus. This is MPA affiliated, so this is right up underneath the athletic department, like any other traditional sport. And through the Play Versus league, we are matched with opponents just like the other sports in the area with local teams. We played the Noble Knights and the MSSM Penguins last week, and won both matches, by the way. If we make it far enough into the postseason, we do live championship matches. The venue has changed the last couple of years. Thomas College and UMA have both posted the event, but they set it all up on the stage and they play the championship matches and they stream it live and you can watch the whole thing go down. HSEL is the High School Esports League. This is another one that adds another half dozen or so games that we can form teams for that aren't available through Play Versus. They're more national though. Play Versus is also a national organization, but they're divided a little bit more strictly into regions, so we play other main teams. HSEL, we've been playing opponents from all over the country, the Midwest, Michigan, California, Washington State, all over the place. So the competition tends to be a little bit more fierce, but I'm really excited if we can get a team into the playoffs for an HSEL game someday. Those championships are played in the Hy-Vee Arena in Kansas City. So I look forward to telling Mr. Walsh how much that's going to cost and asking him personally. Oh yeah, and by the way, there are multiple seasons. A little bit small in this picture, I apologize, but we have the fall season and the spring season, like most other sports. We also have the winter blitz kind of crammed in between there. So the 3 seasons, we go pretty much from the second week of school right up until a week before graduation. It's going all year long. The winter blitz is kind of nice because it's stressful for me. The teams all play 2 games a week instead of 1, but it gives kids that do the traditional sports a chance to jump in and participate without missing track or football or soccer or golf or whatever they like to do with traditional stuff. As I mentioned, we've got a handful of kids that are interested in video editing and streaming and whatnot. So we have a team Twitch channel, and we can live stream the matches while they're playing each afternoon at 4 o'clock. Our Twitch channel, if everything's gone right and nobody's called out sick that day, then we have our Twitch channel goes live and you can watch one of the teams play their match. And we also last year organized with Extra Life a fundraiser. We did a 24-hour gaming marathon. The kids played Mario games all through the night. They raised a little over $2,000 for the school and for Extra Life charity. Helps local kids in the area, St. Joe's and Eastern Maine, families struggling with bills a little bit. They get some help from Extra Life, and they also do stuff to help keep the kids entertained while they're at the hospital. Adjacent to the esports program, as I mentioned in the room there, we have started 2 STEAM courses, science, technology, engineering, and with an emphasis on the arts in math. So we have STEAM tech, toys, and tools, which is very beginner friendly. People that are curious about it but maybe don't have any experience on things like app development. We play around with MIT App Inventor, we do block coding, we make some VR interactive presentations, try to replace the old idea of like the trifold poster with something a little bit more interactive using Google Cardboard and what have you. We do Tinkercad 3D design, and we have some 3D printers set up in my classroom so they can actually print their prototypes. And it didn't work out last year, depending on how the semesters play out, but we have been able to participate in the Windstorm Challenge at the University of Maine. They have an annual competition designing stable platforms for offshore wind turbines. So we were able to do that a couple of times with the STEAM team. We're starting to get a little bit of community recognition. We were part of an STS Learning Through Technology podcast. They said they got so much useful stuff that they split it into a 2-part episode even. And we have our first corporate sponsor, Avid, reached out to us actually and offered to provide all of our students with headsets. So we were able to give all of our players last year a set to bring home, and we had enough left over to kit out the esports lab, and we even have a few backups for when they start to break down. And all they asked us in return was feedback. They're getting into the esports arena. They've made headsets for quite some time now, but they haven't focused on gaming stuff in the past. So we are kind of their test group for their hardware. All right. And then what's next? So that's what we did. That's why we did it. What are we hoping to achieve in the future? I have recently been accepted into NASA. It's a global organization. I keep wanting that N to be national, but it's not. It's a network of academic and scholastic esports federations. I've been meeting people from Japan, Mongolia, South Africa. It's crazy. Fellows from all over the world. And this organization is actually what turned us on to a number of the opportunities we already have through a virtual conference I did last year. So I'm pretty excited that this fellowship opportunity will lead me to a bunch of other resources that we'll be able to take advantage of here at the school. We also have been working closely with AJ Cool, who is the director of the Husson University Esports program. He's really excited and enthusiastic talking to me about building a mentor program between our athletes and theirs. So we've already got some plans for this year, hopefully to grow over the next couple of years, having their college students come down and mentor and help train some of our students, and then vice versa. We'll go up and visit and see their facilities and some of that NESCOM program that they've got going on. We've also had some very, very brief conversations, just like this is just a little bit of a tidbit of something I'd like to pursue for MHS and PADS, is that both of the leagues that we participate in, Play Versus and the HSEL, they both also have middle school leagues. And I think we've learned a lot, through the hard way, we've learned a lot that would help getting a program started at one of the younger Hermon schools a lot easier, do a lot smoother. And that's it. Keep it short. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
If anybody would like one, I have these awesome Hermon Esports pins that you can add to your lanyard and support the program. So I'll pass this around. Everyone grab one if you want one. Thank you very much.
Mr. Stahl, thank you very much, and I will admit that was a very short notification we gave you. We put this together very quickly, and I really appreciate it.
No problem.
All right, next I'm going to address public comments from the last meeting. Barbara Ford had given us some input on policy JIE pregnant students. The comments were heavily considered, and the policy deals specifically with reasonable modifications for pregnant students. If there were any medical appointments, any parent would be able to be excused with the appropriate documentation, as all medical appointments are. Ed Ford had referenced multiple policies. All substantial policy changes receive a legal review before the final document is posted. And policies that are approved but don't pass legal review will not be implemented until the appropriate changes are made and approved by school committee. I mean, in general, we follow the guidelines for policy and make changes from that point. They've done a lot of work, as you can see. As far as the reference to the school budget, the school will be beginning the budget process and will seek community input as the process proceeds. Greg Newell has some comments about subcommittees. There's been changes to how we've conducted the subcommittee meetings because it's been a way to improve the work of the subcommittee. The public's invited to attend subcommittee meetings, but the purpose really is to seek input from the administration and staff on specific subjects. And the public's opportunity to provide input remains scheduled during public school committee meetings, or as always, emails are welcome as well. Next up, we will move to other committee acknowledgements. David? Debbie? Thank you. Tony?
All set.
Haley? Ryan?
I'd just like to recognize the high school for their accreditation. I saw that in the paper on Friday. And to getting accredited is an arduous task. I didn't do it through high school, but I did it through another program. So I appreciate recognize the hard work that goes into that and the hard work that it takes to maintain it year over year. So that's something that definitely needs to be recognized. And thank you for doing that. This will all show the entire community that puts that together.
I want to recognize the high school for all the hard work on the homecoming. It was great to see so many people at the football game. I love the addition of the bright yellow yellow jackets for the staff. I think it's important to be able to have them stand out, so thank you. That's a small little amazing touch. I want to recognize the Key Club because I believe they have between 60 and 70 members, which is huge. The leadership that's done within that club is just simply amazing, so I wanted to recognize them.
And we rocked the car show this summer. They helped out with the car show.
I didn't remember if you said that last time or not. And I did want to mention we're bringing more junior achievement to the middle school, and Mr. Freeman has requested for grade 6, and I believe that's November 8th. We do have an opening for one more volunteer. If anybody would love to do that, we do what's called JA in a day. Anybody could do it. You just got to sign the volunteer forms, but it's 8 to 2 that we'll be doing that, and the students love it. Michael?
None.
Aubrey? And committee acknowledgements, sorry.
We're just gonna have
Yeah. Okay, no, I caught you guys off guard, so I apologize. Public comments. So next up, this is an opportunity for members of the public to comment on agenda items, contribute info that may be of interest to the school committee, or ask clarifying questions. Please wait to be recognized and identify yourself before speaking. It's not the time to register complaints or promote a personal agenda. Please remember that you may not identify any person by name or job function, and we'd like to welcome Ed Ford.
Thank you. My name is Ed Ford. I live in Hermon. And first, I'd just like 201 pages of an agenda. The current draft of the contract between RSU 87 and the packet and the Hermon High School has a directive in there for Hermon School Board and Hermon High School Guidance Department to produce an annual report with student outcomes from RSU 87 students. The prior contract had that same language. I wonder, do we have that particular data that came out of the last 5-year contract? So that contract's ending, we're starting a new one. In there's the exact same language talking about data on those students. Any idea if that's forthcoming? Anybody working on that?
That's done every year.
Oh, already done? So it was completed in September of would have been this last month.
It's given to RSU 87 every year.
Is that available to public too? I mean, it's just data on students.
It doesn't have individual students, it has, I'm certain it is.
Another thing I just wanted to mention too, the timeline with the 25-26 school budget. I know you just mentioned that you're certainly going to start working on that. The problem is if you look back now, there's only been one finance subcommittee meeting taking place in 3 months. And I didn't see any in this 201 pages. There were no digestible material in there about the budget. And so currently there are only 3 finance subcommittee meetings scheduled through February of 2025. And then the school budget is scheduled to be presented to the town council on March 13th. And then the town wants their budget they're doing their town budget on February 13th. So the time frame is very short. And I don't know if there's going to be added meetings, if there'll be, I mean, I think there was some discussions about having some workshops in between there, but I mean, the time is very short. The committee is currently down a member. And certainly that member that comes in will certainly need some gearing up time to get to that. So I'm just here today to really hope that the committee will start engaging in the budget now. And there are some towns that have, in the past, they've engaged like ad hoc type budget committees. I mentioned it last month, it probably wouldn't, I mean, it's just something, my opinion, says that might be a good idea at this point. And so I also, in the news, the last few months, we've all seen it that across all mediums, that news about town and school budgets and the incredible pressures that they will be under due to a combination of lower state school funding and access to additional property tax. I think that's a very unstable financial position for Maine taxpayers, and I hope the school board, superintendent, and the school board will engage in them now. Is that my time?
Yeah, thank you so much. Next up, resignations.
We have resignations from Joy Austin, who is an educational technician, Lily Berry, a high school guidance counselor. I almost cried when I read that. Candy Hale, our special service secretary, and Bradley Swoboda, a high school custodian.
Thank you. I make a motion to approve the superintendent's recommendation to employ John Rancourt. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I guess my concern is that per policy and statute, I know we're supposed to hire the superintendent, and our policy states that we approve the recommendations of the superintendent. And I've talked about this, we used to go over the resumes. We see confidential information and deal with that as elected board members. We have confidentiality training, we deal with students' confidential information. And now knowing that we are no longer seeing employee resumes, yet we have the potential to, per policy, tell the superintendent, no, we don't approve that person, we want to see somebody else brought forward. That's our right it's a checks and balances of the school board's responsibility so that there isn't bias and all those other things they're responsible for. So I could outline all of the policies and the statutes. For time's sake, I won't, but I can't look at a parent and say that I've read a resume or that I would recommend somebody, because we don't get to see that information because it's being chose to no longer hand that to elected officials to review that stuff.
You are right. We never would have talked to parents because those, even when we were provided them, they were confidential information.
What I'm saying is when we raise our hand and we are saying, yes, we support this person or don't, I can't in good conscience know that I'm putting their child in a safe environment or whatever the scenario is because I haven't seen that information. Does that make sense?
Jody, I feel like we've addressed this last time, but
yeah, she provided the information. I'm also going over confidential from community members and FOIA requests is different than – why is it that we're able to see confidential student information, but but not employee. That
I
doesn't make any
understand
sense.
what you're saying. I've asked them for an answer.
Go ahead, Jody. Jody attended a workshop where she found that we had been providing that information and we should not have been doing it. It's a violation of personal information, family rights. And so at that point, she started redacting everything except the education and the name, because that's what we've been advised to do. And that has not been sufficient. I guess it goes back to trust. If the individuals who send the candidates to the superintendent and the superintendent then reviews the application and interviews the individuals, it gets down to either you trust that judgment or you don't.
And Mrs. Dern, I want you to understand, I do trust the judgment, but as a safeguard as elected officials of the board for a reason, so each of us have a different, each of us are responsible to uphold the statutes. So it's not a matter that I don't trust you, I do trust you. I trust your judgment, but how can I say that I'm upholding the statute, that I'm making sure there's no discrimination when I don't know what to compare it to, because I don't know who else sent the resume in. So for that, as a safeguard and fairness, we used to always have that information as school board members. And what's the point of confidential training if we're not utilizing it? And we're looking at confidential information all the time on students.
I don't see confidential information on students. I don't know, I'm not sure what you're referencing. The only confidential student information was when we had to sign a waiver for.
We absolutely go into executive session and review.
There's been 2 instances where we've gone into executive session with student information. I just don't want it stated that we see student information, because I don't. The only student information I've ever seen was related to policy in executive session. So I just want to clarify that.
But the point is, we're trusted with confidential information, student or employee, otherwise we see that information. So to say that we don't when it comes to hiring, it's just contradictory.
Any other discussion pertinent to this candidate?
And I want to be clear, it wasn't specific to the candidate, rather just employment in general.
All those in favor? Motion carries. I make a motion to approve the superintendent's recommendation to employ Perry, how do you say the last name, Anton? Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Next up, these were just listed, I believe. We don't need to vote on those, but did you want to go over any of those?
I don't think so.
I don't believe we had any absent members last time. So I make a motion to approve the second reading to amend AC. Do I have a second?
Can we take that as a block?
Yes.
I mean, we've got 7 policies here, they're all second readings.
One,
Well, some I-
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
Okay.
9. Okay, any discussion on that one? Any abstentions? All those in favor?
Wait a second. Haley said she had one specifically she wanted.
No, I'm only doing the first one for AC, sir. Any discussion was there, and any abstentions? All those in favor? Motion carries. Next up, I make a motion to approve the second reading to amend ACAA. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor? Motion carries. Next, I make a motion to approve the second reading to amend ACAA R1. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor? Motion carries. Next, I make a motion to approve the second reading to amend ACAA R2. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor? Unanimous, motion carries. Next, I make a motion to approve the second reading to amend ACAB. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor? Unanimous, motion carries. Next, I make a motion to approve the second reading to amend BEA. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I guess I just reference on number C. At the bottom, it actually says, committee members are expected to comply with the same standards as school employees regarding confidential information. So this goes back to, we may receive confidential information in our email. We understand that it's confidential. Those are things we used to do. So when we're referencing it in some places and we're not abiding by that in others, it just seems to be a trend. So
What change were you looking to make with the
I'm not-
policy?
right here, I'm just referencing the fact that this was added, you guys added this part, so it's read, so we were acknowledging that we understand employee confidential information.
Okay, so you're just commenting, I thought you were making any changes for the second reading of it. Do you have any changes you want to make on it?
No, I want to acknowledge some of the policy, because I don't get to talk at policy committees, I wasn't at the last one, but I don't get to have any sort of discussion at policy.
Did you bring up these comments last time? No, I'm sorry.
I wasn't at the policy meeting.
Oh, in that last meeting, is this the second reading? Or am
Yeah, I think
oh,
some of this,
okay.
isn't some of this wasn't in the last version either.
Okay, is there anything you wanted to change on the policy?
Well, my question is, how will this be enforced? How will these policies, that school committee members shall have no authority to speak on behalf of the committee unless they are designated, all of that? How is the school going to enforce an elected official, which has no jurisdiction to do so? How will they enforce such a policy? What are the safeguards? What does it look like?
I think we go back to trust.
So we're now making a policy that is telling the school board member what to do outside of the school, is that right? So you're asking the school committee to approve a policy that says outside of the school, how we're going to use our First Amendment.
Well, it's saying you cannot speak on behalf of the school committee because the school committee only has authority when they are at a committee meeting. Each individual on their own, when they're away from you, you have no authority to speak on. So it's just reminding us, and that's in state law, that
Yeah, that's in many policies, so that's just a cross-reference.
So how is it enforced that this is going to be written on each person's social media account? That's my question.
I guess I don't post about school committee on my social media, so I wouldn't have that.
I'm not saying, this is what it says, that we are to write and post a clear and conspicuous place on our own social media pages. So any comment that's ever said about anything, whether you're a parent or whatever, you're making sure you're stating.
if you're giving an opinion about something that is occurring at school, it's important to let people know that you're speaking on your own behalf. You are not representing the school committee. That's all.
Any other discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Next up, I move to approve the second reading to amend IKABR.
Second.
Any discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor? Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Mr.
Sorry, so sorry, Michael.
So towards the end of it, it was talking about how students will be scored on habits of work through a 1 through 4 scale, the same that formatives use. What I was wondering if we could do for a recommendation is that when it talks about the summative and formative scales, it shows all the grades you can get and what warrants each grade, but it doesn't show that at the end of habits of work. So I was wondering if we could add that like we did for the other two sections to make it a little bit more clear.
So understanding the objective, of what we're trying to achieve, what it looks like, and how you make the grading.
Yeah, that'd be it.
So we have directly in our faculty handbook. I can send a copy of that to Mrs. Stern and easily added. So the parts are participation, work effort, and participation, work effort, and another one. And we've got a scale that meets, somewhat meets, and does not meet, and that can be easily added to that if that's something.
Yeah, I think that'd be a great improvement to add. That way it kind of matches how the other sections are organized.
I can send it over.
I'm gonna retract my motion and
my second?
Yeah.
Or you can make amend.
No, I'll make a motion to amend with the recommendations of.
Okay.
Do you second that? Yeah. Any other discussion? Thank you. Any abstentions? All those in favor? Motion carries. Next up, I move to approve the second reading to adopt JIE. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor? Unanimous, motion carries. Next, I make a motion to approve the second reading to amend KG. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I just have one question. Somewhere buried in policy, I didn't have enough time to dig it out. There used to be a section, and I can't remember where, that it talks about if it's longer than, it just says, long-term lease, but it doesn't define what that is, so are we, somewhere I feel like it says 6 months, but I can't remember which other policy it's in that references that.
Are you on the first part under use criteria, where it says long-term rental?
It's like the first line, I think. Sorry, it's buried in this stack of 200 pages.
I want to commend the policy committee for all the policies that you brought forward to us. It's kind of funny because last year we had so many outdated that folks really were looking for us to really be hammering through them, and now we're doing it. So I commend you guys for doing that. So you wanted to have long-term defined?
Well, I feel like we have it defined somewhere else. I'm looking at you because I feel like it was referenced in the last year or so. Somewhere in a policy, I just can't guide where it is.
It's been referenced, but I don't have my computer in front of me, so I'd have to do a control find and see where.
Somewhere it says any.
I don't think you're wrong, I think it's somewhere, but.
It's in a different policy, but it defines like if it's over this amount of time, then it has to reference the superintendent. I'm so sorry. Usually I have that with me, but I quick notes today. I don't know if it needs to be because.
I mean, let's just.
So the
we can-
long-term rental.
Would be, that's a great question.
I mean, it's. Yeah, I mean, we can define it.
Go to.
I don't know what that should be, so we can table it until next time and bring it forward. That's no problem. There's
It's
nothing.
not a major thing. I just see.
Nothing
I
hurrying.
think it could be.
Let's. I'll retract my motion. Retract your second, and I'll just make a motion to table that till next time.
Okay.
Have a second?
Find out where that
Table
is.
it to next month and then definition of long-term.
Yeah.
Just no, I don't, so we're just looking for the same language, or a reference to the policy.
Yeah, just define
Okay,
it.
we'll find it, it may take us a little while.
That's fine.
I probably could think about it after this and it'll come to me, but.
I did. Table to next month pending definition on long-term.
Yep. Any abstentions? All those in favor? Motion carries. Next up, we'll move to school committee goals. We did receive some feedback. I'll open it up to anybody that wanted to start the conversation.
Public or to us or?
To us.
It's new business, so.
New old business.
Well, that's what I said, it was new business. But you said
We should have had public comment.
I'll open up to the public comment now for old business and new business combined.
Goodness.
Yeah.
Adultery.
Open up public comment and closing. No takers. So I'll turn it over to the committee for school committee goals input.
I mean, do you want to go one by one, do you want to go, how do you want to run that for?
I mean, we can go start right from the beginning. I mean, we've gotten some great feedback. Some of them are measurable goals, but we can certainly talk about them. Goal number 1, I'd like to keep there unless anybody wanted to add anything or amend anything to it.
I know it's a Ryan thing, I prefer the date be written differently, thanks. And then I wasn't sure if my goal number 7.
We're on number 1 now.
Yep.
As we're gonna go down. agree. And we've already agreed that we're gonna involve the public.
We did? We
Yeah,
did last
I-
year, didn't have.
Okay, I just talked about it in public comment. What did you wanna add to that goal?
That we were going to include, workshops or opportunity for the community to be involved. If you wanna leave that in 7 or wrap up some sort of, well, 7, if you need to make them measurable, your statement was, these aren't measurable. If there are parts here that aren't measurable, we can make them that way while we're here.
I think there's goals and then there's policies and procedures and just, I think of the goals as high level but measurable, SMART goals. Anything else that anyone wanted to change with goal number 1? What goal number 2?
I've already been reading into the public and they don't say how should we read them.
Yeah, go ahead, read it.
It did work fine.
No,
I
these are
recommended
ours
the-
as a
The
committee.
finance
Go
one
ahead
came
and read
right
it.
off in what we had last year, so.
Goal number 2 is student achievement. Establish a curriculum subcommittee by 13 January 2025, tasked to establish a process to review student outcomes and communicate academic performance to the community by 7 April 2025.
Any changes that anyone would want to make to that goal?
Well, we've already kind of met some of that, because we've already established a curriculum subcommittee. We've already reached that, so I don't even know if it needs to be there.
I think that we've heard from the public a lot about wanting to know, really focus on the student outcomes and really focusing on the academic performance, that I feel that goal has to be there.
Do you have flexibility in the first 6 goals, or is this how, what I'm
Or we
hearing?
could have 10 goals if we wanted,
Okay.
but
Having 10 goals is very
no, agreed. But I'm just,
Why don't we flush out what the goals are and then what's a given,
Want to strike
and then start striking them.
did you want to read the next?
Goal 3, technology, updated, conduct an audit of the 2024 technology modernization plan by 1 January 2025 that focuses on the modernization of the network systems and addresses all issues identified in September 2023 DNS open audit report.
Keep going.
Is there anything that people would like adjusted, changed, or otherwise? Okay, I'll do 4, seeing how I've been doing superintendent thing. Superintendent hiring process, select a permanent superintendent by 6 January 2025. Employ the permanent superintendent no later than 1 July 25.
Facilities. Complete the science labs design by March 3rd, 2025. Prepare and approve science labs by RFP by May 5th, 2025. Next is committee training.
I did kind
Have
of
a
work out.
proposal there, yeah.
Yeah, a school committee will identify and schedule quarterly professional development training subjects by 2 December 24 for 3rd and 4th quarter 2025 and 1st and 2nd quarter of 2026. So it gives us a full year's worth of it. And I threw down and I actually was able to bounce some ideas off and Debbie. They can really be any trainings, but areas that we should look at, in my opinion, are the budget process, the Maine School Board Association delegate assembly, what they do and how they work. Boardsmanship was a lot like the class that we had last year here through Maine School Management, and then an open legal. And over the 4 quarters, we should have some kind of class on type legal laws that direct our decisions.
How about Robert's rules?
That would be under boardsmanship.
Yeah, that would be good, and then that would strike the last one that we have listed here. You're just kind of moving it up and rewording it.
Yeah, number 6, committee training.
Yeah.
That's the same. Deb, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
I think boardsmanship, some guidelines as to how to be an effective board member. I think those trainings are really important. MSMA has the ability to know, where we need to be, what we need to be, the questions we need to be asking, how we need to be asking them to gain information. They have legal opinions, at their resources. So I think it's important for us, even as veteran board members, to have the training.
So those were 4 training ideas. So the goal would be to establish the training. The actual the nuts and bolts of it would be what the training actually is. And those were just some ideas that I thrown out there. So that's good.
Goal number 7, do we have any comments on that one?
I'll read it. I wrote, the school committee will enhance stakeholder engagement by conducting anonymous surveys of the teachers, students, and community constituents twice a year, October and April. The results will be publicly discussed at subsequent committee meetings to ensure transparency and inclusivity. Additionally, the committee will host 2 public workshops during the budget development process to further gather community input and foster open dialogue. My objective when coming up with a goal for the committee was that I review the statutes of what we are by law supposed to do, and where the feedback that we hear from the community that we're not fulfilling, and then a lot of that is about getting feedback and understanding. We almost need the report card, right, of how are we doing, how can we improve serving this community, that we don't know if we don't ask, and if we want to calm the chaos of public comment, the best thing to do is to actually give them a chance to be heard and pivot accordingly to make sure we're meeting all the needs of all of those stakeholders. So that was my reasoning.
I understand the desire to do surveys, but one thing that I've learned about surveys is survey isn't a goal, it's a tool. So if we're going to do surveys, what are we serving to look for? And I've been through a couple of either in my former profession or because I did have a job back in the day, or whether it was a town or a school survey. It's hard to write a survey when you know what your objective is. When the objective is the survey, it makes it very difficult to make something that's usable. So then how do we meet that goal?
But we can come up with a goal based on the feedback. So if, say the goal is to collect, rate 1 to 10, how, do you feel heard as a teacher? Then you get the information. If everyone says yes or no, then you decide how to implement and how to change as a committee. How do we make sure the staff feel heard? Is that, so those are the.
See, when it comes to staff, I don't think that's our,
Yeah.
That's not where we should be, that's where they should be.
That's where the administrator should be, is how I view it.
That's an administrative.
I'm read 20A, 1001, the statute very clearly says we are to collect feedback from constituents and staff. So how are we reaching that goal by not fostering a way to hear from them?
We just did a survey, actually.
Yeah, but again, it was a survey that had the task was to gain information on something specific. The tool was an electronic survey. So again,
You could do a workshop, it doesn't have to be a survey. I was just trying to open the communication lines and get feedback as a committee of something that we are hearing the feedback from the town. What are we going to do with that information? That's never been a goal that I've seen this committee seek. They're the ones that elect you. Why wouldn't we want to find a way to have that be a goal that we're hearing from them?
What's not going into it?
actually, I do hear from them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it turns into one of those, if somebody's got something that they want to contact me on, I hear from them. Some, yeah.
Well, that's my goal, personally.
Well, no, I'm just trying to, how do we format it in a way that is specific, it can be measurable, actionable, time constrained. How do we put all of those things together so that we have a reasonable goal that we can understand and work through. You know, it almost sounds more like, I think more like we were discussing it more like a policy of, we're gonna annually do a sensing survey on, and then you have to say what you're sensing on. What are we going to sense on? Do we feel that the grading is appropriate? Again, it's really not a school committee thing, that's a, you know, the parents feel that they're heard on assessments. And some of those are happening at the school level, at least I know that they were put out at the elementary level.
I'm gonna say multiple of the leadership of the principals all do surveys. The superintendent, at one point, one of the goals in the past has been to collect and do surveys. That did not happen. I don't know why, as a school board, we wouldn't want to hear directly from all the stakeholders. That includes students. There's all sorts of people that want to give information or share what they think, so that we as a board can seek to meet those needs.
I hear you, and I think it's a great one to have Patty look into as the, and work with the administrators on. Does that have to do with the board?
Well, I
It's
mean,
not our goal.
what information are we looking to get to what has already been collected by the
Exactly.
administration?
I only want to hear from constituents about what they think the school board needs to do differently. How are we doing? Are we providing, whatever those questions may be, we need to have a discussion and come up with what the survey questions would be. But if you don't want to hear back and see what we could do, then that's.
No, because you're
That's
shaping
not
this
what I
into
said.
something
I'm
else.
not shaping it.
No, I'm trying to help you, David. You're shaping this into, you're looking for community feedback on evaluation and performance of the school committee.
So that we can meet the needs, whatever that might look
Yeah.
like. You don't want to promote opportunities for them to communicate during public comment. So how else can we hear from them? When I think about that, I think, okay, how else can they share that information?
I haven't stopped them from public comment. I was trying to help through on that thought process. So, again, I see a survey as a tool.
To reach a goal, and the goal is to get feedback from the community.
What are we gonna do with that feedback?
But on feedback on what? And I liked your comment on student engagement, and what students think, and that is actually a goal that Deb and I talked through on student engagement that we can get to after this.
I like that you've been able to talk to the other board members about this particular addition. I haven't had that benefit, so thank you.
I submitted a couple of these goals,
You did,
and
highlight
he asked me
goals.
some clarifying questions on the goals. That's where the conversation went, because I had submitted some of the goals, and Brian had some questions about what I meant by what I had said, so that's where the conversation went.
So you want to start that out? Is that what?
I'm not striking anything, I was just asking how to clarify it, that's all.
Okay, we can cross out the first part, and could we have a goal of providing at least 2 workshops to hear feedback?
On,
My original goal was to add it to the front, so that when we're talking about the budget, that we actually have a workshop where allowing the public to speak at that meeting.
I guess I'm struggling with what you consider a workshop, because, I mean, I'm not gonna go over old business, but we conducted the budget meetings and subcommittees where public comments were open and taken seriously, and it was not in a workshop format, it was in a public comment format. So you were correct in the sense that it did not have back and forth dialogue, but the tenor and tone of the conversation really wasn't in a public dialogue either. So, we will have the budget, and it will be in an open forum so that the public can make comment on it. Whether I'm gonna commit to a workshop or not, I'm not gonna do that as part of our goals. If the committee wants to look at it and add workshop as a goal to finance, that's the committee's decision. If you're looking at me, I don't think putting a workshop as part of the finance goal fits. But that's my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
outlined in MSBA's handbook to provide stakeholder involvement.
We're not saying that we're not gonna do it, we're just saying that we're not gonna specify it as a goal. It's gonna be part of our process, and we'll discuss it in the policy meeting. Policy subcommittee? Finance. Finance. What about the next one? Ask for explanation on how things are done. Is there a way to quantify that into a goal? Did anyone have any feedback there?
That would be one that I submitted. And the background to that is a lot of times processes, procedures are questioned. And I think if we have a question as a board member or as a board, as a committee, the opportunity is there to ask how that process is. We don't need to do somebody else's job, but if we have a question about how it's done, then I think that the opportunity might be there for someone to explain to us the process, the procedure, but they have a responsibility to the nuts and bolts of whether it's budget or those type of things. But if we have a question of how did you get to that point, I think that to have that opportunity for us to ask for input as a goal when we have those questions, to maybe ask for that input as a committee, ask for a presentation is what my thought was on that.
I feel like that, I like it, but I feel like it belongs somewhere in policy versus a goal, but I could be wrong.
I actually think it is a policy.
Yeah.
I feel like it kind of belongs under goal number 6, community training. It's just like it's an action in that goal. It contributes to the goal, but it's just an action of that goal.
And then, did you say that you had some wording?
Yeah,
for
the wording on the
groups?
student
'Cause
engagement.
I think that's important.
Formally invite a minimum of one student group per school quarter to attend a monthly school committee meeting a regularly scheduled school committee meeting, to present on key issues and be recognized by the school committee and administration. So that would be if there's a school, there's a key club, or school student council, any of those types of organizations. We set the goal that we're gonna have one student organization every school quarter, not calendar quarter, have the opportunity to present and be recognized by the school committee.
I like it. I'm just thinking if maybe Michael and Aubrey might be able to help us to come up with different student groups that maybe could present to us. I'm just throwing it out there and putting you guys on the spot, so I apologize.
Sure. I'm a Key Club participant as long as a student council representative.
Awesome.
Also a class officer, so I can talk to the other freshmen and sophomore class officers and get information from them as well.
Yeah, so maybe if quarterly, and I think we do a great job of getting them here, but if you guys could help us with that, I think that would be great.
Yeah,
We want to hear
have
from
the
the
clubs come, maybe do a presentation like
Yeah.
Mr. Stalder did.
Yes, and only once a quarter, you know, or as you guys saw fit, but I think it was great when we had the theater come, you know, after they got, so if you guys could help us with that, then I think that could be great. I don't know.
Just a comment, certainly the high school could be happy to present every month.
Yeah.
However, there are three
Yeah.
schools
Yeah, yeah,
like, and I'm-
Yeah, no,
I'm just,
thank you.
I just want to make sure
Yes.
if you leave it up to us, we'll have 10 of them, no problem, but I
Yes.
just
Yes.
want to be fair and equitable, if you will, I think.
Yes.
And I know you're not trying to be inequitable,
No,
it's
thank
just,
you.
I
Yes.
think it's important we make sure
Yes.
we're covering a span of 3 schools,
Yep.
that's all.
So still have you guys do that, and then
We
you
can
guys
narrow
help
down
us
the
out
high
as
school
well.
with no problem. I
Yeah.
think
And
that's-
then I thought, well, is there a little bit that will, hopefully you have some great little, Mrs. Duran and I have a plan for our next meeting. We have some students that we're going to bring from
Perfect.
elementary schools.
So I'd like the administrators to help us with that.
Could I make a recommendation that 3 times a year you do it, and we highlight the extracurriculars at the high school during one meeting, the extracurriculars at the middle school during
There you
another
go.
meeting, and the extracurriculars at the elementary during another meeting?
Yeah, sure.
And maybe not limit just to extracurricular.
But
We have a program
Maybe a
expand.
little different for
If
us.
you leave it to the administrators and
Or
our,
any
we'll come up
other
with
time,
something.
bring
I mean,
someone, you know
we have
what
so
else-
much going on, we really can.
Yep.
That's all.
I just would like to have you guys help us with that. And then the next.
So then do we want to add in there that represents each of the 3 schools?
I-
Only invite minimum of 1 student group per school.
Honestly, I don't necessarily, it goes back to if we're gonna,
Or not make it a goal at all, just,
I would leave it up to everybody's input, but if we're gonna have goals that we're gonna really hone in on, I feel that that one's gonna be able to be achieved outside of us. The administrators are already all over it, and I apologize for into these things. And then the budget, and then the completion date,
yeah, training for committee members is what really ran into the training goal that, committee trainings, which with Deb and I were able to talk through. So then that brings us to finance, student achievement, technology, superintendent hiring, facilities, surveys, and committee training. And we can, and I know I said this at the last meeting, that I don't mean technology as a throwaway, but it's really pushed off on us now and is being successfully completed at the director level. So do we really need to have the technology goal? Because if it's not completed, it's already well in the works.
I feel that the subcommittee could report back to us. So we're gonna strike that one.
So strike technology. So that brings us back to finance, student achievement, superintendent hiring, facilities, surveys, and committee training. Finance really seems like a needed.
Yeah, I would keep finance, I would keep student achievement. The hiring process is a major one.
I'm a little confused about the timeline on that because
Timeline of what?
well, the dates, we don't currently have the coverage for that until the date, so I'm not quite sure how that's working, but I'm sure you have a plan.
No, we're working on a goal, so no, I don't have a plan.
So finance, student achievement, hiring, committee training, I would either suggest striking facilities or surveys. Because I feel surveys is more admin.
Okay, how about striking, I mean, that gives us 4 right now. Anything over 4 becomes, we only have like 6 more, some more reads a year, so.
Yeah, I was,
So rather than one or the other, I mean, I'd almost say,
you make a motion.
well, talking through it, facilities is, it's something for us to work for, but whether it's a modified.
We did the same thing with
Yeah.
technology.
Yeah.
So, I would make a motion for goal number 1 of finance, goal number 2 of student achievement, goal number 3, superintendent hiring process, and goal number 4, committee training.
We've already established the curriculum subcommittee. So,
It's
already
not
in
just
process.
that.
It's already in the works.
so your motion, staff with the amendment to change the dates to be written. Date here. 1, 2, 4, and 6.
Yes. Is there a second?
Second, yep, I'll second that.
Any more discussion?
I think I just keep going back to what our legal responsibility is to uphold, and I just don't see anything that engages feedback from stakeholders. And I don't see that anywhere in your actions or words or your goals that are seeking to engage the community and build, helps foster and build community and trust. I want to see us as a committee proactively restoring that. I just don't see that outlined here.
And a survey will do that?
A collect feedback so we can get a idea of where the breakdown is and how, then we make a plan of what do we do to resolve those issues as a board.
Anybody else have any discussion on that?
Yeah, public comments, what that's for. You know, if somebody wants to come and speak to us, if they don't want to send an email or if they don't want to call us, come here and stand up and tell us your problem, and then the superintendent can start working on the resolution.
But the goal is,
It doesn't have to be a goal, that, you know what I mean? I get what you're saying, and I agree with you, it just doesn't need to be a goal. That's my.
it's outlined in the handbook too, and why would Maine School Board Management make that an option for us? If
Well,
it's-
yeah, but it's not made in the handbook as a goal.
We could,
It's made in the handbook as for, for us to do, to work on.
So how are we working on it if it's not a goal?
Well, we all should be working on it. We work on it when somebody comes up and speaks to us, I hope you don't just block it out and not pay attention. I know you don't. I don't. I don't believe the people here do, so that's what we need to do.
where are you saying that in MA? I'd love to make sure that we have a policy that,
We do have policies that say that, that's
and we do allow, and our policy says to allow public comment, so.
Yeah,
Any other discussion on that?
And we don't just allow public comment, we
Right.
allow public comment when we're taking up something important in the middle of the meeting.
Right,
So, I mean, and
Right.
most boards do not do that,
I agree.
or committees.
And we've also added, was it this year or last year? Response to public comment.
May I just mention, you also have your parent councils where people do bring things to the administrators. So if we're really messing up, I think we hear it. And to be very, very honest, when the public feels that you're not doing your job, we wouldn't be meeting in the library anymore, we would be in the auditorium. And I know Mr. Reynolds can remember a time when the school committee made a suggestion. They didn't actually do anything, but they made a suggestion. And you had 400 people turn out in the auditorium to tell them it was a terrible, terrible idea. So, in fact, I agree, we do want to hear from the public. We want to know if there's something we can do better. We can't always do what they would like us to do, even though we hear it. But I do feel that the public, I hope, feels comfortable coming to us and telling us, gee, we need more of this or less of that, and we welcome them.
Any other discussion on the goals?
Yeah, just one more thing on the same topic Mrs. Dern's touching on. The response that we get from the public is when they get into the voting booth. I know that's not a perfect way to do it because it's every 3 years, but it's still a response that you actually hear from the public if you're not paying attention and not listening. Thank you.
Any abstentions?
So 1, 2, 4, 6 is where we're at.
All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Next up, MSBA resolutions. Haley, we had left it last time that you were going to attend a meeting, I believe. They had some educational
they had
events.
The regional.
It was during our meeting, so we couldn't attend, but you wanted me to read up on there, and, as I'm reading through, I have gone through this experience before, and what I can say, as I said last time, is the feedback experience, and I know Brian went last year for me, it's kind of like this process. You can come and you can vote a certain way, but they're gonna do what they wanna do anyway. They already have the majority, they already have the plan set out, so it's really just, it's not really open to feedback, it's already cookie cutter, pre-planned. So
That wasn't my experience last year, by the way.
I'm not sure your experience, I'm telling you, when I have attended the meetings and the trainings and that's how it went. So, I have read through these, we can talk about them, hopefully you guys read through them. I I know that any changes or recommendations that I would bring down there would be disregarded and would not be acknowledged, so.
Did you also mention that was your agenda adjustment, that you don't have time to make the commitment this for our voice?
I'm telling you that I am being disregarded amongst this committee, and I'm being disregarded when I have attended for Maine School Board Management. So to make time to do a priority when most people don't even read these packets and want to give the input,
That wasn't my question. My question was,
I am filling in the rest of the information because you're saying it in a way that makes it look like I'm not committed. I'm very committed.
you said you didn't have time.
I do not have time to attend when there is no value in the time that it's no time.
Is anybody else? I know it's short notice, and I apologize, because the 19th, did you have something like that?
We asked you to do it because it's representing us. And we
You
were
asked me to do it because no one else would say yes. We tried. I actually declined it. At first I said no, and then nobody else.
You were passionate about,
2 years ago.
we were asking you to represent us, and last year we did not put the time in to go through each resolution to know what we were talking about. And that was something that I was trying to be passionate about, to go through the resolutions to help, so that whoever represents Hermon has our best interests in mind. Deb, I know you in the past have done for RSU 87, was 87 setting,
We don't have a delegate.
but you have a seat if you want one.
Yes,
Yeah.
but we don't
You
have
didn't
one.
nominate one.
We did not.
So
I
to go
just-
over these would be to have somebody be representing us, and so I guess the question would be, again, it's short notice, but is anybody able to represent us?
The point is when there's legislation that goes before the state and it says this is supported by, and with it, it says Maine School Board Association, that's got the Hermon School Committee's name next to it, whether we like it or not. So we can look at these things and discuss them and put our vote where we think it belongs, or we can disregard it and the Maine School Board Association represents Hermon on items that we may not agree with. I would do this for Hermon, but unfortunately, I'm already a delegate for somebody else. I'm doing it for UTC. So I don't think I can represent both. But it proves a point that if we were to work together, now if there are issues, we've got multiple votes on items. And that's the way Maine School Board Association is supposed to work. You work within your region. So if you feel passionate about something, you can rally your votes so that your voice is heard. So Maine School Board Association, we pay to be part of it, and here's an opportunity for us to vote and let our community's voice be heard. So that's where that's at. I don't think I can do it because I can't be able to. So
Two units may not agree, and then there'll be
Right.
half a vote.
So you're not able to do it?
This is an organization that doesn't even want to give me the password to the policy database.
I asked,
So-
we're not going to, I asked,
Wait a second,
Yeah.
please.
I was speaking, so as I both of you are out of turn, actually, I was.
If we want the password to be for everybody, then the delegate can work with local community, local delegates, so the delegates can vote that it's changed.
I was a delegate last year, didn't get the password. So my point is, before I was point of order stuff. I am not even, you guys changed the password, no longer give it to all the board members, and yet you want me to go represent our voice down there to an organization that doesn't even trust our board with a password to policies that we pay for. So, no, I can't find time to participate with an organization that is not.
I was hoping you were gonna take the feedback that you hear from the community and be a voice for the community. and
Well, you're the
representing
chair and you're
Hermon.
more than welcome to be that voice. You can step
Thank
in and
you.
take that role.
Thank you.
Please. I opened it to make a nomination for a new delegate. So thank you for your passion and you can take that role on October 19th.
No, unfortunately, because of the short notice, I can't, but I appreciate the offer.
Tony?
So it's unfortunate that we won't have representation, so I don't know if we should go through all these, because.
There is one point that I want to make, because it's going to come back, the
Yeah.
community. And I know most of you don't know where I'm going with this, but there are items that I'm sure the community in the future will become passionate about with Title IX. And this is going to be an area in which we could possibly address Title IX. Title IX issues are not a school committee issue. They're a state legislation and federal legislation. The way our voice gets heard on those issues is through the Maine School Board Association. So if we don't represent ourselves on the Maine School Board Association, whatever our beliefs on Title IX are, then our voice simply won't be heard. So it'll be I'm sure there will be public comment at some point in the next 2 years that is very passionate about Title IX, where I can't do anything to help them. So the only chance for us to do anything in regards to Title IX was in a process such as this. So I think it's just an opportunity miss. It's unfortunate.
How long, I'm asking the question, how long does the meeting last?
It was like a 3-hour online VTC. You know, if it was, you could hold 2 paddles, I'd see
Can you
it.
be there, do you have to be there for the whole time? How's that work?
It's a VTC, so you're in your own space.
And they take a vote every time?
Yeah, you have to log in, you have 2 screens, you have to electronically vote. I mean, it's fairly, it's not something that can just be, you know, your name has to be submitted, it has to be cleared, the email needs to be sent to you, you need to log on a day ahead of time. I don't know whether it's a day or not, but you have to log on in advance to make sure everything is set up, and then you log on the day of so that you have the proper identity, they know who you're representing. I mean, it's
It's
fairly-
unfortunate, it's a short list, I
Yeah.
can't.
Okay.
So we're gonna have to table all these then. Or we're not even tabling them.
I don't know how to, do we make a motion to decline our right to vote? I mean, Mr. Dern, I'm now looking towards you.
I mean, I wasn't expecting.
How do we
We're
deal
gonna have
with
it
this?
wrapped.
Take any action.
Okay. So no action. Next, I make a motion to approve the contract for schooling of secondary students between Hermon and RSU 87. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
This is new business, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
But
so,
I opened it for public comment for old business and new business last time.
okay.
There was no takers. Happy to open it up again if somebody would like to come.
Can you just make that clear? I don't think you're engaging with what you're saying.
I make a motion, I am opening up the podium to anybody that would like to come up and do public comment for the new business,
New business agenda items.
agenda items.
Contract, RSU.
And I'll close public comment as there's no takers to the podium. So I made a motion to approve the contract for RSU 87. Was there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I had a question just on number 7. The professional discussion committee, our committee and our subcommittee is slowly dissolving into things outside of the committee's approval process. And so I think they're not one and the same, and they're trying to be made one and the same to have a policy professional discussion committee where your admin are talking. It's more of a staff meeting, and you're getting that feedback, and you're letting them know the policies that are coming along. And then there's policy that this is school board's responsibility to take that discussion back to the school board. And I feel like, I understand you don't wanna have more meetings, but I also don't see I guess like they used to say, are they part of this or are they part of the policy committee?
So this is actually, I believe, what a lot of folks have been hoping for in this sense. they are not saying that they wanna have equal representation, because that's what the last contract had said, so that is removed from there.
So my question is the school committee voted at the beginning of the year and every year what subcommittees we're going to have, one of those is policy. Without the jurisdiction of the school board, it's now been morphed into this other kind of ad hoc committee where they have admin, it's a professional discussions committee, which is really more like a staff meeting where we know what's going on, getting their feedback, and then it would come to the board. That's not how it's working anymore.
No, actually, we're following,
I've attended
as Mrs. Dern mentioned, or, thank you, we're now following our policy appropriately, and,
your negotiated
Yeah.
agreement
right,
says that
thank you.
you'll do that. If in fact you want to have your professional discussions committee, which as outlined in the negotiated agreement, does include school committee members,
Yes, I agree.
then you would have that meeting, and then a policy meeting, and then a school board meeting where you have the first reading, where you can have all the input to change or add to a policy before it goes for a second reading. So you have 3 meetings prior to. Is that what I'm understanding?
Oh, I thought we were agreeing. That's my understanding of how it had been working, is they were meeting with the staff. Maybe they weren't doing that part of it, but it was always in the contract with the
Correct.
teachers. So I would always be under the assumption the superintendent was getting that information from the staff and then bringing it to the policy meeting. Maybe that wasn't happening, but,
That was not.
What are we wanting changed within this contract?
I said it was a question. I just want to sometimes I just need to get more information and communicate, because I don't get to talk to anybody outside of here, so I was just asking for more information to understand where did our policy committee go? Because it's no longer really there, it's become this sort of an ad hoc staff meeting. So nothing, I don't disagree with the contract, I was asking for more information
I haven't
about.
seen a sort of ad hoc staff meeting. I mean, I don't mean to be contradictory on it, but I mean, there's the narrative on what's going on at a policy meeting and as a professional discussion group. There's a professional discussion group that has been this policy subcommittee has been combined into it out of convenience and necessity. And it was extreme public feedback that they did not like the terms that RSU 87 would have equal representation at it. So that was addressed.
May I ask for your clarification of how you don't allow 2 board members from our town to be on that committee then?
So the good news is, in the future, if this passes, it can be 2 Hermon.
Doesn't require,
I know how this is going to go.
How good.
no, I'm not. I guess I don't get what's.
I'm not
What- how's
really
this gonna
sure
go?
what's happening.
We've been involved in a lot of community feedback in different subcommittees and ad hoc committees on how the charter reads for this group. This group, RSU 87 is 2 members of our school committee. We have reacted to the fact that there was a lot of feedback on having them a directed equal partner in our professional discussion / policy committee. That has been taken out of the contract. But out of respect for the members of our committee, they are here laughing because they're eligible to be members of our other subcommittees. I think that's very reasonable that the RSU partners in our committee are equal partners in our committee and can be part of the technology committee. But they're not directed, they must be equal partners in our professional discussion committee.
I am always willing to have any board member or any community member sit at any meeting, always. That is always my intention. They are more than welcome to be there. David's joined the tech committee and he has enough of his own. They have their own things and things to deal with out there. I think it's cumbersome to even debate. I would always welcome them in any voice, so that's not the issue at all. I just wanted to get clarification on professional discussion committee and where the policy committee went.
And did you get your questions answered?
I did, thank you.
I Any other discussion? Any abstentions?
We voted as a time.
Conflict of interest.
Yep.
Not a voting right, conflict of interest.
All those in favor? Unanimous, motion carries.
And before you leave, please sign the official copy of Jody Road.
I just believe Haley's name is spelled wrong, so we might have to cross that out after initial.
Very wrong.
And so I make a motion for the first reading of policies. I'm gonna take these next 5 in a group. Motion to approve the first reading of AD, ADA, ADF, IJNDB, IJNDBR. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
So it's, with all due respect, sometimes it's hard when you do them so big and you can't even get to the policy before, so just fly through all this stuff. What's the point of having it if we can't break it down?
This isn't our first time seeing this material. We receive our packets, thank you, Jody, on Thursdays.
Correct. The reason this is being blocked is because it's a review, correct? There was no, I wasn't part of the policy committee, but there was no changes.
Just change, no changes, just changing the dates.
On those 5 policies, there are no changes. It's just they've not been reviewed since I think some of them were 2005. So we got the updated suggested policies. Nothing was different, so we just want to indicate that we've reviewed it and update the date.
And again, I thank you guys for that, because we heard that multiple times last year, that these weren't updated, so I really appreciate you guys accomplishing so much. Any discussion?
I just wanted to review on policy ADA. It says the board will develop annual goals based on input solicited from a variety of sources. These goals will be shared with the community, staff, and students. The board will regularly evaluate the process towards meeting goals and adopt appropriate policies. So I'm glad that we are going over this, but I also think that we need somewhere in here also talks about including the public and stakeholders. So keep shooting that same point.
Excuse me?
I keep trying to make that same point.
Okay, so what did you want changed?
I want us to just follow the policy that's already outlined. That's all.
Where are you reading, Haley?
We already covered that. ADA, ADF, district commitment to learning results, we just start following these. We aren't as a committee making these goals to make sure we're giving this information back to the public.
So this is our second time doing our goals. We published the goals for everyone to see, so we have asked for feedback. Any other discussion on this? Any abstentions? All those in favor? Motion carries unanimous. Next up, I move to approve the first reading to rescind GCASE, IJNDBA, IJNDBE, IJNDBL, IJNDBLR.
Second.
Any discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor? Motion carries. Next up, and we'll take these ones individually, I move to approve the first reading to amend ADAA. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I did have it's not a change or anything like that. It was just going back to the references. There's a couple references that you can cross-reference at the end of it. And I don't think it warrants discussion, but the bullying, JICK, discipline, JK, possibly harassment and sexual harassment of students. ACAA, just, it's the first reading, something to be considered on the next, for the committee, on the subcommittee, professional development committee, next time.
Add JI.
They're just cross-references, yep. And if you like, Jody, I can send those to you in an email, and I just.
Any other discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor? Motion carries. I move to approve the first reading to amend ACE. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I do.
Go ahead.
I was asked to look it over, and there's professional development opportunities involved in it, and I say that with a smile because it was, anyways. In regards to reporting, it's what we're supposed to be doing reporting. It's here in policy. It's been here in policy, and some of us, me included, have not fully grasped what was in the policy. So I don't have any changes to what is written. I do have the request for an addition, though, either in paragraph E.4, which is responsibilities associated, superintendent shall be responsible for, either in that paragraph or a separate paragraph with paragraph H, to annually or additionally as needed present to the school committee and community items A through G and F as an annual summary, so that the superintendent or his designee would be required to once a year report on local assessment systems, which is C, I said A through G, so that there would be a monthly, yearly committee meeting that would include a public report on district annual report, the comprehensive plan report, local assessment district report card, and the financial report and other reports. And that they would just, we put in our policy, we're gonna actually address them once a year in a meeting, rather than they're out there in all kinds of different data. You just don't ever get it in one comprehensive look. So rather than reinventing the wheel, let's just bring the wheel in once a year and look at it. You know, so it's data that you guys already have. The key phrase in there that I would point out, though, is under E2, provide district report card, but informative to parents, students of the district in an understandable and uniform format that parents and at least one school committee member, parents can understand. Because I don't want it to sound like we're saying parents don't understand. I don't understand some of it, or most of the stuff either. So that's why I would say either put it as a add to paragraph E4, which are responsibilities associated with the district, which is delegated to or directed to the superintendent or their designee, or make it a separate paragraph at the end of the policy that would simply say annually or additionally as needed, present to the school committee and community items A through G and an annual F. And I can.
You're gonna amend your motion, or I'll amend my motion for that.
Yep.
Adjustment. Is there any other discussion?
Should you, two factors that would go into that would be, it would be great to have some point of when that should be done, but we always have those lags of state testing results and all that information that becomes such a factor that it'll be, I agree that we need to have an outlet from the school committee to the public that we're seeing these reports and what they're saying. I just see those variables that will hold us up when we do that, and
we can either not put the date in the policy and it's on us to put it in, this is where we're going to do it, which gives us flexibility with the administration, or I wouldn't say springish because we're looking at end of year data and a new committee member. It's almost like an in-brief, out-brief. When you start the school year, you end the school year, start as a new one. When can you get the last year's data together? So what would be the soonest reasonable time? And I'm looking at Mrs. Davis because she's the only one that look at me. I'm thinking like, elections are in June. New committee member shows up in July. Don't want to do it in September because that's crazy school. So we're talking about August.
August makes sense.
Yeah.
We've got the summer.
Yes.
So if we were to set a date to it, I would put August to it.
I think it's kind of tricky, a little bit putting any kind of date on it, only because if the state and they do have a history of changing
When they
their,
change.
right, their assessments, by not having a date or simply putting yearly, then we can get you a report. It would ensure that we're not limited by those time restraints that we may have to go back and say, either we're not making this policy, meeting this policy, or we need to change the policy. That makes sense.
If you said annually, that would work.
Annually, yeah.
That's
Yeah,
what I
that's what you
originally said was
originally had,
annual.
Within 2 weeks.
Annually or additionally as needed, in case something
I'm
comes
so
up.
glad I asked you to look at this.
There's a couple of people that know what I was doing Saturday night at 11:30, so.
I will tell you, Mr. Graziano, I today was looking on the Department of Education's website for the district report cards. And the latest information they have there, I believe, is 2022. Yeah, I was like, okay, yeah, this is not as helpful as I would like it to be.
Any other discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor? Motion carries. Next up, I move to approve the first reading to amend GCSA. Do I have a second?
Second.
Number 5. Any discussion?
Give me 1 second if I can find it, please. Did you work on this? Am I allowed to ask him a question? Okay. I know we kind of mentioned it at tech committee, and I wasn't sure if this was that, or, so I was just trying to clarify. Yeah, are we looking at GCSAR, is that what you're looking at?
GCSA, number 5.
Oh, that's a different one, okay.
I was not involved in those conversations.
Thank you.
In GCSA, it's a very, very minor change. In GCSAR, it's much more
Yeah, that's
comprehensive.
okay, thank you, that's why I was getting turned around here, because you have options, and then you have already did it, and then, okay.
Any discussion on GCSA?
One thing, the word, case from board needs to be switched to committee. The second paragraph down here. Down around here. Just switch that word to committee. And then incidental personal use is defined by an individual employee for occasional personal communications.
I don't see that.
It's on the copy.
It's on the bottom.
Page 1 of 2 of GCSA.
No, it's,
But
I thought
we missed
the white.
Well, I mean, to get technical, it says or other board policy, it's with the Hermon School Committee.
I mean, we'll just change it to committee.
Yeah.
What else?
Just reminding friendly that, using the school's internet and for personal communications, there's retention laws and it just gets dicey, so I wasn't sure that should even be in there, but I'm not gonna waste time on it. Here's one in there. They're FOIA worthy, they communications, using it for personal use.
Patty, on page 2 of 2, on the last paragraph, consistent with committee policies, boards just in there again,
Okay,
just minor.
bring the computer, it didn't find.
I know. Any other discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor? Unanimous. Move to approve the first reading to amend GCSAR. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Wonderfully done.
Any other discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor? Motion carries unanimous. Emergency management plan, I move to approve the 2024-2025 emergency management plan. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor? Motion carries unanimous. I move to change the date of the Durham School Parent Teacher Conferences from November 14th to November 21st. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Oh, sorry. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Next up, administrative reports. We'll take them as presented unless we had any specific questions.
Public comment.
Are you asking us, are you allowing us to make, you're saying it as written all together, one big block, or what do you want to do?
You wanted me to do louder, were you saying you couldn't hear me?
Well, that, or I don't think are you offering reports to public comment?
No.
No, okay.
No. I asked the committee, did we have any feedback on the administrative reports? We're gonna take them as presented.
I had a few questions.
Okay.
The finance, I can understand not wanting to print the budget expense report, but if it could at least be posted, because we're looking through those numbers and that after a public comment or a question, I've noticed the budget expenses are no longer being shared. Monthly budget reports are no longer being shared, and I'm not sure why that is.
Yeah, it was a 201 page report that it's been pointed out to us several times tonight. So it's around there, 30 pages.
Yeah.
I think it's 30 pages.
But it can be posted online, so we can at least see it there.
Okay.
Maintenance, I just keep seeing, I'm concerned we have a lot of issues with maintenance in cafeteria. Are we doing, how can we recruit staff to go over there?
If it's reported to me, I speak either to Mr. Davis or to the building administrator, and you'll get it addressed ASAP.
Oh, no, what I meant was, I just keep seeing they're looking for custodians and bus drivers and kitchen staff. I feel like we just keep seeing that. I don't know what we could do to help draw in,
I think we're like everyone else, if you drive around and see the hiring signs, I think there are a lot of choices out there for people looking.
but is there, as a committee, is there something more we can do to help promote those applicants to come to Hermon?
Tell them how great this place is.
Well, yeah,
It is.
it is, I just, I keep, it's been months and months, and I just want to, I can't imagine working short-staffed, it's a big building, so.
It is. You're absolutely right, and I appreciate the fact that you recognize that, because they are working very, very hard. We have, actually, at one point, we were hiring students to help after school, giving students jobs,
Community service.
work, well, they're paid.
Oh.
And like your college job, when you go to college and get a little job. So we were looking at every possibility that we can to try to fill those.
That being said, shout out to the maintenance crew for following up on those things I brought forward. The trees and the sidewalks and the safety is much better, and I'm seeing all the parents and the students using those, so I know they're busy, and I appreciate them taking the time to.
Well, they appreciate it when you point something out. They don't know,
It's a lot.
otherwise they don't know that it needs to be done. So
Yeah.
thank you.
And Patty, it was my fault, I didn't give you the opportunity. Did you have anything you wanted to say about your report?
I think I've said enough.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
The other question I had for Mrs. Duran was that I didn't see in your report anything about the update on voting, and I know we received some emails about concerns and continuing to get emails about the voting concerns. Is there a follow-up or update
We've not heard anything back after we met with the Secretary of State. We've not heard anything back at this point.
Can we try to get an update for that for next time from Kristen Cushman or whoever is gonna get it to us, just because, June is fast, or whenever June's fast approaching.
We can ask if she's heard. Sure.
I had one plea, I guess. Is there any way the meetings can go back to being in one location so it's consistent for everybody? I'm hearing that staff and the teachers, you move the policy for special discussion over to the elementary school. The teachers aren't attending, and so we're meeting a need that they're not sticking around for. It's really tight quarters. Students are in the building, Rex in the building, and now we're opening it up to the public coming in. I see it being.
It would have to be later in the day if we don't have it there, because we do include teachers. They had a conflict this past meeting, so we only had, I believe, one teacher there, but that's because there was a conflict. We would have to have the meetings later because they don't get out of their building until 3:30. So they leave a classroom and come directly to a meeting. So if we have it here, then we're going to have it at least a half hour later.
Is the goal that all schools and all teachers come, or is there just certain representatives that are?
Just representatives.
Does each school have a teacher representative? Because I haven't seen them attending, so I just.
They should, per policy, it says a representative from the elementary, middle school, and high school, but for the last couple of meetings, I've had some conflicts in scheduling that I know Mrs. Dern's working in the association with.
In that room, I could see running out of space if those people did attend really quickly.
Okay. Anything else?
Are you done?
Yeah, I guess I agree, Stephanie, they're going through a lot of policies. I also think giving people who have multiple life demands, more than willing to do it, I'll put the time into it, but 200 pages of, with a few days to look at it, including a weekend, and you're traveling and you have sports and all these other things, that's unfair to us as well. And it's a lot to put on them. That's a lot of policies. And so that's three. We used to think 6 was a lot. I think it was like 14 or something in there.
Well, I mean, a lot of them, to be fair, a lot of them had just dates changed.
Yeah.
And a lot of them were very minor. And again, we're listening to the feedback because of last year, so.
And that's part of what that's what a subcommittee is supposed to be doing. I can't do all the work of all of it. I can't do the technical committee. And that's why we have the subcommittees, so that somebody can bring their piece to the table.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we have a whole lot to say.
So we have to come and bring with our piece to have, if we're allowed to have any sort of input in it. I'm just saying 14 is a lot to comb through and try to prepare and research and do all the things. So it seems a little cumbersome.
Anything else on the administrative report you said?
I mean, I wanted to point out some things that are, they get lost in the, it's good info that answers some questions I just want to bring to light. One is that there's been a discussion in the community, if you would, about, there was some comments about the growing population here at the school. In the high school report, it shows that we are not growing as projected. It doesn't, so, there was a small growth, but we went from 560 of last year, 567 from last year to 570 this year, which is about 22 below projections, and that projection is old now. It's like a 5-year projection, correct?
Correct, and I did update last year separate from the projection, as you know. I will update again based on bodies and chairs.
Yeah, so, and the reason I bring that up is there, community feedback is a large concern about the number of students that we have in the school. So I just wanted to bring that up. There was a library update that Mr. Walsh put in here in regards to who is, how many books have been signed out, but also, the library book issue was something we worked very arduously on over the last couple of years. And now parents can vote, parents can approve their student to see adult material, restricted material, or unrestricted material, and those numbers are holding steady. I want to thank Mr. Walsh for managing that protocol for us, and the numbers are in the packet. There's a number of other things in here that I wanted to point out, but all my yellow stickies were things that I wanted to talk about. But something that I wanted to do, also talk with the middle school, with the the relationship between Husson for their OTs, and that sort of work is great to see within our schools, so we're getting out to other institutions for that kind of stuff. And then special services, the mini lesson, I loved it. And that's something that will pay huge dividends so that I can be a better informed representative and community member. It was 5 sentences that was liquid gold for tonight. Not that I used it, but it will build my toolbox. So I appreciate those sort of things, and you can provide that into our packet. So thank you.
Next, the finance report. I'll take it as presented.
Yep. Just the good news at the 23 audit. Whoever doesn't know, the 23 audit's back for the town and for the school. And it was a good audit. There were no faults found, no recommendations made. 24 audit is in the works, and Jamie is ahead of that, so that's very good. And then looking at the numbers, we're a quarter through our school year. We should be looking at 25% utilization. It's less than 25% utilization, but that's because of the change in the way in which we did our looking over Jamie, but that's a change in the way in which we've done our payroll. So that would have been July and August was actually into 24. So that's why it shows a relatively low utilization rate. But the finance side of it is fine.
Thank you. Is there a tech subcommittee update?
We haven't met since then. I'll give Mr. Bridges props for following through on the things that we addressed. One being making sure that the boosters building, we talked about getting internet out there for them, and they have cards now, and that was really good to get that done before homecoming and student night, and I think it's working great.
Security audit, is that moving forward?
Yes, I just met them this morning, we kicked off the project, and I expect to have a report by next week.
So it's actually a pretty good deal for us. So
I'm excited.
Yeah, appreciate that. That's good.
Thank you for your hard work. Any facilities subcommittee update?
Just one quick one. Mrs. Byrne gave me a copy of the engineering plan that we paid $5,000 for back on when Gary Gagne was here. So we've got the plan, we're looking it over at our next meeting. Haley and I'll check it over, and then we'll go through the proper channels. But it had drainage at the elementary school along with parking facilities. It had to be on the SLOTF plan, which would be a permit from the state, which would take a long time and cost us a lot of money. But if somehow we can find out if we can put gravel down and the grass like we have around the building, our new building is called carriage path grass, then maybe that wouldn't tip our green space and we'd be able to just replace what we got, put something that a car could, or a truck could actually park on, not sink out of sight. But early stages on that.
Thank you.
And that's response to public comment.
Oh, many public comments from 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Possible future agenda items, Brian?
Update on USAC and legal proceedings. Or something like that.
Shoot, actually, let me go back one step. Did you have a UTC update?
I did. UTC, I've been, as you all voted and appointed me to the UTC as on their board of directors, we've been working on a bond issue so that we can bring funding to UTC to update their equipment. It's a $1.8 million bond issue. They haven't had a bond for UTC since, I think they were saying 1979 was the last time there was a bond issue. I'm thrilled every time I go there. So it's a recharge for me to go and see such a great organization. So it will be on the ballot for the bond issue this November. There's a public hearing October 15th at 6 p.m. at the UTC 200 Hogan Road, if any of you are interested. So it's a great opportunity. So.
And we're gonna try to set up a tour for us to attend that at some
Yes,
point?
yep, that would be one of our, that would be the equivalent of professional development opportunity for us to go, and I'd also like to see how many people from, not only just down to our CU 87.
It's been done before, and both boards were able to send, both boards went.
Didn't we have the actual meeting though there,
We did.
as I
We
recall?
did.
So we actually used their auditorium. So now we're going back 20 years, but
Yeah.
we used their auditorium, as they call it upstairs, and we actually had the board meeting and included the tour. So,
It was an.
and it was fantastic. I mean, for those who haven't been there, it is fantastic. And you're talking almost 50% of our juniors and seniors attend on a daily basis.
It's what, 160 or so?
No, we're probably around 134 right now, but we take every seat we get and then other people's when it comes down to it.
And to just make sure that we extend that to the public as well, to be able to attend, so.
Yeah, I like the idea of actually scheduling a committee meeting there.
It's
so
awesome.
that we don't
We
get
can do it
into
in the
the,
future,
yeah. What's so impressive about their board is their mission outcome focused. So I realize we can't be that way, but it's very interesting to be part of that. And I thank you all for letting me be involved, because it really is good.
Thank you for your commitment to doing that. So Haley, possible future agenda items?
Just to, what you already said, follow up on the voting place and then have the audit presented to us,
Which audit?
the financial audit and maybe even the security if it's done.
Tony?
All set.
Debbie?
I'm all set, thank you.
Dave?
All set, thank you.
Okay.
Something.
Yes.
So I don't like to toot my own horn or anything, but I'm going to kind of, because I need this on the agenda. So a couple years ago, I received my doctorate in education, and have been working very closely with the university and their elementary education program, and specifically their literacy program. And I have been approached to teach a class outside of school hours, an online course, and I would like it to be put on the board for possible approval for me to do that. It is a part of my contract that I receive approval before I make a commitment, so I would like for you to consider that and that to be on the agenda for next meeting.
Thank you. I make a motion to approve for FY '24 the 3 warrants as presented. Do I have a second?
Sorry.
Any discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor? Unanimous. I make a motion to approve the FY '25 12 warrants as listed. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor? Motion carries.
Yeah, do you want to do a public update first, or just move forward?
Well, I don't know.
Just move forward, okay. I move to enter executive session pursuant to MRSA 4056A personnel matters.
So I'll note right now, just before the executive session would be a good time to do that, but I was cut off during committee acknowledgements.
Yes.
Or, sorry, not cut off, but I was caught off guard, is what I mean. But we have
yes.
some acknowledgements about the student body.
And I apologize because I forgot you guys for possible agenda items as well. So I truly apologize. Thank you, Michael.
So would you like us to give this right now?
Yes, please.
Okay, Bobby, would you like to start?
Yes. Our Key Club has organized and is hosting our 3rd annual Walk for Cancer this Sunday. It's open for all students and public to attend. And Student Council has gained around $3,000 from our homecoming dance and booths. And we saw better participation throughout all activities during the week. And Student Council and Key Club are preparing to send students to Camp Sunshine in just a couple weeks for our leadership seminar weekend. And we're all pretty excited about that.
Thank you.
The JRPC program hosted, or not hosted, but went through its annual mountain bike trip again up in Belknap last Friday and today with its students. And our National Honor Society is having a new project in cooperation with the Yellow Tulip Project, is the name of our organization, to help raise awareness about mental health and stress in the high school environment.
Thank you guys for that update, and I apologize for catching you off guard. That was my fault totally, so thank you for stopping.
Thank you to the JROTC for your work over at Coles Museum.
Oh, we love Coles Museum.
Yeah, me too. So,
When is the walk? You didn't say when, where?
It's this Sunday at Bangor City Forest. I believe the time is 2 p.m., but I'm not positive about that. I would actually swear I saw a flyer here.
Okay. Thank you guys again for your update.
Did you have agenda items?
Okay.
actually, before we go to executive,
Yeah.
can we get those confidentiality slips in the back of your? Earlier today.
Yes, I just need to.
Yeah.
I move to enter executive session pursuant to MRSA 4056A personnel matter at 8:35 p.m. Do you have a second? Second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Good job.
It's just an entry into education, like, we're considering like
Mr. Walker.
Why don't I walk it?
Thank you.
I had opened it, but then it was closed, and then it was opened. So why don't I take a walk?
Sorry, Brian. We were just remarking at the fact that our media date is already available for testing last week, which is absurd, like we've never had
You really do?
that.
Oopsie. Alright, I'm gonna go make sure 167 is online. Get those. Along with the shirt. Big one. Oh, they have those too. Don't. I wanna make sure that's unlocked.
I'll stay here and keep with what you can do unless you have.
So David Hart, this is Deb Wallace and Stephanie. Do you want these back?
So when did they sign me? So do you not?
No, I
lose that one? Okay.
Oh, I think I remember that. One of the meetings we had like some photos up or something. Yeah, so like showers and eye washes.
This is just about
It's not
Were you able to get your cheese cards? Yeah, I had my score cards. 166, anybody else provided score cards? Any online?
like whether you're doing even sections or whether you're doing organic, general, like there's certain things, I know organic is not really much in high school, but it's like, but you, I remember being in high school and we would have at least little kind of way to pick the organic where they would do like, try to guess this substance. And they would have like very basic tests that would just kind of give you sort of a little taste of some of those things. But if you do electives, you have, like I know that I was in high school, we could opt to do like anatomy, physiology, it wasn't a required class, it was kind of opt into if they wanted to do that. But if you only have so many
They shouldn't.
then there's only so many of the questions. So
It's
just an update on the.
there are two rooms that, one is just a general classroom that needs to be converted.
I feel like we could pick up the chairs for just one.
The good news is, because of where it is, it's less of gas and water. So, but it's a huge, there's a lot of, just food things. you might know what you need, but you don't know how to get necessarily from point A to point B.
This is not appropriate.
So I'm looking forward to tomorrow.
So right on the
Hopefully
shelf
the
there.
contact information, hopefully everything's good. And then
So theirs are actually done, and you're just gonna.
they're.
I gotta learn to sit down and put my socks on.
They're completely done, but mostly.
I think they're already sitting to there.
Let's see. The kids for the second and fourth grade.
You have to feel in front.
So it's like, kind of like seeing that stuff just.
Well, when I first started, it was. It wasn't. But at least, gosh. It's been a lot.
It seems like it's just one of those kind of topics that just back. It's like no one everybody uses it and wants to.
And that's what I thought, they hired him, and we didn't know what was gonna happen, it was such a big expense, so we got hired.
Because that makes no sense.
But I don't feel like I'm very high, because in high
It was
school.
approved, and it was supposed to start happening summer 2020. And we know it. And they couldn't justify that expense not knowing what was happening. And so that happened, of course, then all the construction costs skyrocketed. Everything. And so everything had to be done.
Well, and you also have the added complication.
I'll be late in the morning in PTI,
Whether they did.
when you reach there, probably won't be here, so
So you have the issue of the space, you should sign
crossing in the
space.
Right? That's what it is.
Then more when you're done. But
Yeah, it is exciting.
I think that, like, I got excited when he was talking about like a skiing thing, because my youngest, like, older, but my youngest is out there, and so a lot of us with them, and we're part of homeschooling group, and I try to for the last that years, I hear kind of, and then I'll be at classes, mostly first or grade, and that's what the same time my kids are getting more younger, so, I did a lot of STEM classes. And it's like, you're like, oh, slime, and like, I think, I get frustrated because a lot of my kids' eyes love science and stuff, and I think maybe I, because they get to the point where they just go, oh, there goes my face. But my youngest is totally into a lot of it, but when we would do it, when I did it with other kids, I'm like, hey, I should be more of that.
Okay, yeah, that's what it has to mom.
It's a mom. It's a mom thing. But it was like, being able to sort of give them a little, like, we're gonna talk about aerodynamics, let's see who can make the best of it. And we'll have one contest. Or, you're talking about chemistry, and like, okay, let's make some new testers about the different elements that come together. And it was kind of like, it didn't seem like school, it seemed like more hands-on fun things that they get to, I guess, their eyes open to how science install these crazy things that they didn't know from that perspective. And this was the first year in years that we didn't do this kind of class, because the teacher was not allowing that we're doing like the curriculum that's looking at like flying creatures. So we're studying or not bird flying squirrels and bats and bugs and things like that. And I had so many kids come up to me because they had older siblings that were taking the classes, and they were coming home with all these fun things that they had made them done. And they finally got to the age that they were going to be able to do some of our classes. And they were like, oh, okay. I'm like, well, flying creatures is going to be fun too. And we're like, so, but it is kind of fun. It's nice to be able to do those kinds of things, because I think sometimes when you get to the upper levels of science too, there's a lot more memorization, and it's not as much fun unless you have an interest in it.
There is second only to foreign language with the vocabulary. That's what I was always told. And especially as you get older, because then if you need to explain the reason why you have to have
for it, kid.
Right over my head. I'm like, well, what's it gonna cost me, and what is the point? You know, you just want me to have better Wi-Fi, so you can come in my house to use my Wi-Fi better. But like, so, but those are the kind of things that even if it's not science-based, like you're looking at the game theater, I think that stuff is so cool because I see how many kids who have different passions and different abilities into the process. And, you know, have some people in the college and have some people who just stand. And at the end of the day, it's our just this. I don't care what you do because you're the one that has to do it. So we agree.
I've got one of each too, one that, for 2 years.
Yeah. Yep. And but he wouldn't have known about these things probably if he hadn't tried it. So but I get excited hearing about all the different things that are in work. Would probably be too.
I am.
I'm tired of for here all day and
Jamie's tired.
You're tired. The laptop is wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the big screen. I can read my grade book because my eyes are getting old. I know you don't understand it. You guys understand it?
you learn the right things.
So am I.
They're pretend bifocals.
Mine are too. My last pair was that, and these are as well. You have no idea. One day you will learn.
One day, hopefully not soon.
He gets it. I have nice 27-inch monitors for the desktop, for the laptop, my docking station. And that's the
Nice.
It's amazing how like the blue light glasses or something to protect your eyes if you're on screens all the time.
I've tried, it's just really hard for me to keep them on my face all day, so I end up taking them off. And I'm like,
Wait until you're 40.
If you can't see, it gets easier to put them on.
you can't see. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's all the time now. Yep. Have a good night.
You too. I myself.
High school German cheerleader practice.
Oh, is that where the came from?
That's Mackenzie. Sassy as hell. Return from executive session 9:01 p.m. I make a motion to move forward with the recommendations as discussed in executive committee from the hiring committee. Executive session, excuse me.
So you accept the recommendations of the hiring committee?
Yes.
Second.
Any discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor? Unanimous. I move to adjourn the meeting at 9:02 p.m. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?